Hello and welcome to another edition of J Hags RC. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Tamiya Mad Bull. This is a 10 scale. This would be considered a truggy. It's a buggy platform with monster truck wheels. If I'm not mistaken, this would be one of the first actual truggies, if not possibly the first truggy. These would be Lunchbox, Midnight Pumpkin, monster truck wheels on a buggy frame. This is, where is it? This is old Barf and Berry. Comes with the driver bust. Just barely kind of see the paint job in there. My son painted this. Painted him up. This one's actually my son's. I've got some seat time with it, but this is something that's more his. Let's pop the body off and take a look at what's up underneath of it. Lots of beautiful, colorful stickers. Got your driver bust. This body is another, since it's a Tamiya, another ABS styrene plastic like a static model. And here is the chassis layout. There it goes, now we're focused. This is pretty much the same suspension, just about the same setup as what a Lunchbox or a Midnight Pumpkin is, meaning that it's independent front swing arm suspension with lots of camber and toe changes, friction shocks in the front, long, almost lay down friction shocks in the back, and a rolling, rigid, solid rear axle. Except where this kind of differs from the Pumpkin and Lunchbox is it still slides back and forth. See if I can come in there. It articulates, but this has a plastic rod that helps to keep that gearbox from loading and popping wheelies. This kit came out about 97-ish, I think, and it was never really on my radar back when it came out, so I don't know the full complete lineage of it. I do know it's the Lunchbox, Midnight Pumpkin, size tires and wheels, the monster wheels. It's a Grasshopper 2 body. And I forget what model the chassis actually came from, and to be honest, that doesn't really matter. It does come with the Tamiya TBLE02 electronic speed control, brushless capable, censored brushless capable lipo cutoff, and then a stock silver can 540 motor. The kit comes with plastic bushings. We went ahead and upgraded to ball bearings. This one is actually my son's. He got kind of tired of watching me have all the fun building them, and he asked me one day, so when do I get to build one? I said, what? He said, when do I get to build a car? So we went through the Tamiya catalog, and we found this bad boy, which is really, that's about who this whole kit is designed and marketed for. This is a great, great first-time kit. Very, very easy to assemble. The shocks come assembled on it. The steering linkage, these are plastic turnbuckles. They come assembled up to the hubs. Really, about half of this, maybe not quite half, is already assembled for you. And what you do assemble is really pretty easy to put together. This is a very good beginner kit. Because if you're advanced, if you're looking for a competition style truggy, with this thing you are going to be sorely, sorely disappointed. the acceleration and speed on this model. I do live on a little bit of a hill. I like to get that out of the way. But having a cell phone zip tied to the top of it with the stock silver can, I got about 20 miles an hour with cell phone GPS, which it's actually quite a bit faster than I was really expecting. It's geared just a little bit high, I think. The motor does seem like she gets pretty warm, but it's got really, really good speed, especially for a kit with this handling, if you will. It will do all kinds of donuts. These tires are pretty hard and chevron style anyway. They're not super, super grippy on like asphalt and all that. It'll do donuts. It'll do power slides. It will do drifts when you kind of get the feel for it. So I'm sure we are going to upgrade it to a sport tuned before too long for just a little bit extra. But really, for right now, I'm actually pretty happy with that little silver can. The steering on this machine, and that's kind of a loose term, it's a bell crank setup. There is a little piece of like piano wire in between the steering saver and the bell crank itself, and I would like to show you. It might not look like a whole mess of slop and play on video, but let me see if I can. That is a whole mess of play in the steering system, and the biggest majority of it is coming from right there, from the Z-bends, just because that is not a precision style setup. I was looking on the forums a little bit on like Ultimate RC. I think some people said a slash servo saver with like a ball cup or something up in the bottom of it, and then I think maybe like a ball cup up on top to try to eliminate at least that much slop of it. But to be honest, this is almost one of those kits. You definitely can upgrade it, and I think getting rid of that would definitely be a worthwhile upgrade. The rest of it is just kind of, you can upgrade it if you like, but it's kind of, it is what it is for the most part, I think. Which leads me to the handling part of it. It's a front swing arm suspension, just like the Lunchbox, so you get the crazy camber changes, and she's really, the springs are about right, but it's very springy because the front end is just a little bit light. You get lots of toe changes when the front suspension is cycling. The rear of it, it's got a, unlike the Pumpkins and Lunchboxes, the battery's in the back by the motor. All the weight bias is towards the back, which is definitely one reason why it's good for like drifts and power slides and that kind of thing. Because when you get that much weight moving, you know, it's going to carry it, which is going to help you do maneuvers like that. But the shocks lay down, and then you also have that much articulation. Watching this thing drive, especially on bumpy surfaces, it's kind of like watching a 30-foot 2x2 piece of wood. It's not the chassis itself that's bending, but the whole thing just kind of bounces and feels pretty rubbery, and then you add in all the steering slop, and you add in all the camber and toe changes, and it honestly kind of reminds me, I went to my first rodeo here last weekend, and I think that is definitely why they named this thing Mad Bull, because when you're driving it, you just kind of guide where you want it to go. It's not precision by any means. Still fun, don't get me wrong, but watching it handle and watching the suspension cycle and watching it bounce, it kind of reminds you of a bull just out in a pasture, just going to town and kicking and doing its thing. The durability of this machine, I've given this to a 10-year-old boy, and he's been pretty rough on it. He's been jumping it, and he's bouncing it off of curbs, and it's actually held up pretty well. The front arms are pretty thick. Let's see if I can cut back. It seems like it's really pretty well built, especially considering that this is almost a little bit fast for a Tamiya kit. The only issues that I've noticed so far is the body right here in these corners, and it's probably pretty hard to tell. The body is cracking, and that's because it sits right in here between this point right here, and it would be my guess that this whole thing, when you're jumping it and really kind of beating on it, is squeezing together, and the body even just really floats on here. Even the body with, I don't have the pins in there, but even the body with the pins, you know, it moves around a whole lot, which when it comes up and hits, you know, comes up there, you hit it, and it's cracking. So I would say if you're absolutely in love with it, you know, maybe open this hole up a little bit and try to get it away from, up away from here. The only other nuisance that I've noticed durability wise is the rear wheels are a 12mm hex, which is what every modern thing is using, except for, here's the hex right here. Boop. Zoom in. Instead of being a slotted drive pin, this is splined. And I know it's really, really hard to see, but I had the splines on one of the wheels strip out on me. A word of advice, if you are looking at this kit, blue Loctite on your wheel nuts. I did not Loctite them. I relied on the nylock itself. The wheel started to work loose a little bit and stripped out that hex. Your local hobby shop is probably not going to have this hex. It was $4 on eBay, but then I also had to pay $4 for shipping, which is kind of a nuisance. I would go ahead and get a 7mm socket and like a small 1/4" ratchet and give them a good thorough tightening rather than the little 4-way tool that they come with, so you can get that extra little bit on there. If this does happen again, I have one extra. My plan is to just put this dude in a drill press, run through it straight, put it back up here, and then drill through the axle shaft itself and put just like a regular Traxxas drive pin in there. That way it's a shear instead of a spline. This kit for the money, I think this was about $105. And seeing as how we were doing everything on the cheap, because you know how kids are, you know, they're kind of want to do it one day, the next day they might not want to do it. You know, their kids are pretty fickle. So staying on the cheap side of it, we put in a Duratrax SX 101 steering servo. Tower Hobby's $6, I think it was, and it's a little higher speed and maybe a little higher torque than what an old standard servo would be. And then for a radio system, just barely see the receiver in there. We used another Duratrax controller receiver setup. Also got it on sale right after Christmas for like $20. So I think we're into the whole thing for under $150. Like I said, we did do bearings, but I get those pretty cheap on eBay as well. So, for the money, if you're looking for something different and you're in love with this kit, I say go for it. You know, for a little more than $100 bill, you're definitely not going to get hurt with it. And the fun factor on this kit is this kit itself is very, very unique. There is really nothing else like this out there, at least in like a fun truggy wise. It's not a buggy. It's not a monster truck. It gets around the grass and everything pretty well. It gets around the rough pretty well because it's got a pretty high ground clearance with these tires and wheels. It's a fun kit, but when you're driving it and looking at it, you just kind of wonder what the engineer at Tamiya was thinking when they actually put this thing together, because it is just crazy, wobbly, wonkety. It goes wherever the hell that the thing wants, and but it is a pretty fun kit. It's really not too bad, I don't think. So that's it. That is my review of the Mad Bull. I'd say if you want one, go ahead and get it. If you're still kind of on the fence, if you want to look around, then you can do that as well. But I think for what this kit is, it's worth it. Just don't expect too much high performance. This is a great Sunday afternoon basher. Thanks for watching.